Thank you, Presiding Officer. I am pleased to open the preliminary stage debate on the Edinburgh Bakers Widows Fund Bill. I would like to thank the other committee members, Alison Harris and Mary Fee, for their work in getting the bill to this stage. The Edinburgh Bakers Widows Fund Bill was introduced on 20th March 2017 and is being promoted by the trustees of the Widows Scheme. The overall objective of the bill, in essence, is to transfer the property and assets of the Widows Fund for the incorporation of bakers within the City of Edinburgh to a new charitable trust. The bill is the first private bill to be debated in the Chamber this session. It is not a controversial bill and no objections were received. The first thing that struck me about the bill was its title. I must admit to having been unfamiliar with the fund. The committee gained some insight into the history of the rules governing trading corporations in Edinburgh and how these now affect the trade scheme and now affect the trade some 200 years later. The incorporation of bakers of the City of Edinburgh was one of the trading corporations set up in the medieval times to regulate trade, and in 1803 a scheme was formed to provide a fund for bakers' widows. An Act of 1813 was passed authorising the scheme. The fund was established to provide financial support to the widows of contributing members. The last contribution to the fund was made back in 1981 and the last annuity paid under the scheme was in 1997. Since then, there have been no qualifying beneficiaries. During promoters' evidence session to the committee on the 14th of June 2017, Lady Elizabeth Drummond explained that the question of introducing a private bill was raised a number of years ago. And she said, and I quote, "We had this widows' fund for which the number of trustees was getting smaller. People were dying and there was nobody around to look after it. We saw that it would not be attractive or viable because of the very baroque entry requirements under the 1813 Act. You have to be male and under 45. And the benefits that might accrue to anyone were so vague and difficult to understand that it would not be an attractive vehicle for people to put their monies into. Consequently, Presiding Officer, the trustees were left with a fund of considerable value. However, it was simply not viable to promote the fund as, for example, an investment vehicle or annuity provider in competition with large pension providers. As, to quote the trustees, it would be trying to set up something in competition with, say, Standard Life. In 2013, the trustees decided that the scheme should not continue to operate in its current form and formally closed the scheme to new members. Currently, there are 2 wives of contributing members who could qualify in the future for annuities if they were widowed. The promoter has advised that the wives have agreed to accept a payment in lieu of potential future annuities to which they might have been entitled as widows in terms of the 1813 Act. In place of the fund, the trustees propose to set up a new charitable trust which would make use of the money that has been invested by supporting education and training and being promoted through the baking community. In response to the committee's queries about the purpose of the original fund being in line with those of a new charity, the promoters explained that, and I quote, "We felt that that was the best way to go to make a genuinely good use of the assets in line with the spirit of the incorporation of bakers of the City of Edinburgh, so that we could get practical modern usage out of the money by promoting baking in the City of Edinburgh. That was one way to use the money, and creating a charitable vehicle was a way to encase it in a fully responsible mechanism that fits today's purpose." Presiding Officer, the purposes of the new trust are the advancement of education by supporting education and training opportunities in baking, and the advancement of the arts, heritage, culture and science by providing public information and promoting an appreciation of local baking and the history of the baking trade, particularly in Edinburgh. The new trust, the Incorporation of Bakers of Edinburgh Charitable Trust, has been approved by the Office of the Scottish Charities Regulator. On the basis of the evidence received, the committee is satisfied that the 1813 Act has clearly become outdated and restrictive, and that the trustees are correct in seeking a practical way of allowing the money in the fund to be redirected to a new set of objectives. Therefore, I move motion S5M 07584 that the Parliament agrees to the general principles of the Edinburgh Bakers Widows Fund Bill and that it should proceed as a private bill.
Thank you, Mr Arthur.